Vamos con Victoria Fernández, vamos a hablar de la situación en el mercado, de la situación económica en Estados Unidos. Victoria Fernández, CrossCapital Market. Good afternoon.
Hello, how are you, Alma?
Victoria, what are your expectations regarding the risk of a recession in the US?
Yeah, you know, before the tariffs came along, there was already the expectation that we could see a mild recession, a lot of it because the consumer was weakening in the U.S., the housing market was struggling, CapEx intentions from companies were not strong, hiring was slowing. There were a lot of elements that were telling us the economy was slowing and we could see a recession come to fruition. Now, the probabilities of recession went much higher over the last couple of weeks as we had the new tariff policy put in place, and it was a much stronger, much tougher tariff policy than I think most of us anticipated. It really made people concerned around, would the consumer be able to buy goods at higher prices? What did that mean for corporations and their margins? Would they start laying off more people? So the odds of recession went a lot higher. I think as the tariff policy adjusts, we'll see the probability of recession adjust as well. So we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out.
The IMF has warned of a potential global collapse due to Trump's tariff policy. What is your assessment?
Yeah, I mean, I know that globally everyone will struggle if we continue to have very high levels of tariffs. They have to worry about their exports that they have. Where will they export them if other countries, if consumers are not going to pay those prices? What does that mean for their own consumers? What does it mean for their producers? So it could very well lead to a global recession if we have these high level of tariffs. Right now we're on a 90-day break. If that comes back in 90 days and it stays on for a prolonged period of time, then I think you probably could see a lot of global issues. We were all in the place where central banks were lowering rates, trying to stimulate some of the economies that we saw slowing already. This would just be additional pressure. So hopefully we have a resolution to tariff policy soon, and that would be good for the global economy.
Has dropped following Trump's action on Wall Street. Victoria, how strong is the U.S. government credit rating right now?
Yeah, there was a lot of concern, Alma, before the tariffs around U.S. credit because the U.S. deficit was at a level that we knew could not be sustained. Interest expense was continuing to be very high, and we're in the middle right now here in the United States of putting the budget together. And it really is the job of Congress to try to bring back that spending, get the budget deficit back under control. But you take that and then add tariffs on top of it, which is a tax on the people over the long term. And again, you're going to have some concerns around the credit worthiness. Over the last week, that concern increased when we saw the U.S. dollar move down at the same time that U.S. Treasury yields were moving higher. Told us people were losing some confidence in U.S. debt, but we did have very strong Treasury auctions last week. So there are still buyers out there for credit, but I do think we have to pay attention very closely to what the deficit looks like and bring that under control in order to gain the confidence of buyers.
Our big question, will Donald Trump be able to calm the markets? Is he keeping an ace up his sleeve?
Well, I don't know what his game plan is or what cards he may have up his sleeve, but we've definitely seen in the past, in his first administration, and then over the past couple of weeks, how quickly the market will react to things that are said by the administration, things that are posted on social media. So this administration definitely has the ability to calm markets. I think the best way that they can do that is to show a clear plan in regards to tariffs, to have some transparency in regards to what they're looking for in the negotiations that could be coming, and then to make some headway in regards to the budget, in regards to tax cuts and deregulatory efforts that I think many people are looking for. So that would be a great way to try to calm the markets.
Victoria, what are your expectations regarding the tariff negotiations? It's so difficult, I think, but...
Yeah, the negotiations are going to be tough, and I know everyone is looking forward to the discussions between U.S. and Japan that should be happening later this week. Hopefully that sets kind of an example of what other countries could do. Look, all countries need some kind of an exit ramp from the tariff policy. No one really wants these tariffs on there for their consumers to pay more to have a tax. So I think if we can get a good deal with the U.S. and Japan starting this week, then that will allow other countries to come in and do the same. Obviously, China is a completely separate story, but I think for everyone else, starting to see some negotiations come into place would be a great support for global markets.
And what will a worsening or deadlock in the trade war between the US and China mean for the markets?
Yeah, this is going to be an area where I would anticipate we'll probably have some prolonged tariff issues going on here. China is a very different story than all of the other countries. In the United States, there was a lot of anti-China sentiment growing prior to tariffs, prior to Trump even becoming president for the second time. And it was from both sides of the aisle. Both parties in the United States had this anti-China feeling and trying to determine how to level the playing field. I think the United States sees this as their opportunity to do that, but both leaders want to look strong for their constituents, so I think it will be baby steps. And you know, Alma, they always say the best deal is one where neither side is happy with the outcome, and I think that might be what we see between the U.S. and China. Each side will give a little bit. Markets really need that to kind of shore up the volatility that we've seen here, but I would keep an eye on a lot of other countries. Watch Vietnam, Japan, Cambodia. These are going to be countries that might try to fill in for China in some of the exports and imports going on. So there's a lot to watch in regards to U.S. and China.
Yeah, Fernández, CrossCapital Markets, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.